I got the diagnosis back. It's terminal! Jack, do you want to tell them what we're covering today with this Terminal 3 opening? Unlike a lot of major infrastructure projects in Germany, Frankfurt Airport Terminal 3 isn't a story of massive delays or project headaches or whatnot. It was planned to open April 22nd, 2026, and I filmed this on April 11th for their big opening event. There's a new bus route that's specifically serving Terminal 3. You know what that means? That's right. Bussin'. Included here, and most importantly for this being Tails, in the S-Bahn is the brand new SkyLine people mover system. There's actually an entire network of people movers with 3 different lines at Frankfurt Airport. 2 of them are called the SkyLine, one of them's just the Square Metro. Square? Square.
Wine Dan.
This is a very artsy airport terminal. Look at that. Is that like a sea sponge or a bagel or a colon?
This is a subliminal message. Buy my merch.
But all of them are incompatible and very different from each other. That said, I'm glad I got to go to this opening event and that I got the invite to grab a ticket and go. It was really cool to see an airport in a state of complete but not in operation. Very liminal. Very cool to get to stand in places that I otherwise would have never gotten to. Alright, time for something very important that's very rare in Germany. Das schmeckt sausig. The story of Frankfurt Airport Terminal 3 is actually pretty interesting, but not too uncommon for Germany. Basically, until 2005, the land that it's on, right adjacent to the other terminals of Frankfurt Airport, was actually an American Air Force base. However, in 2005, that base was shut down, and the Americans were all moved to the base at Ramstein, at which point the airport acquired the area. And if they had the land that had already been an air base, why not, make a new terminal for the airport, which is already there. And so they did. Let's talk about some of the major amenities here. First off, toilets. Not a given in Germany. Ferris wheel. Always a given in Germany. Food court. I don't know what that translates to in English. It's very nice and modern, and I found the new people mover to be a really nice touch as well. Architecturally, I think it's just gorgeous. Really clean, really modern. Though perhaps a bit too concretey on upper levels. I don't know, would have been nice to see like a tree somewhere. Unfortunately, even in this early pre-opening state, we weren't allowed in the post-security area, so I can't tell you what it's like to go through that or whatnot, though I did try to fit myself into one of the baggage claim things. I fit. I'm inside. New airport smell. It's nice. As cool as planes are, it really is cool to see planes like this. Shame I couldn't go on the Ferris wheel. What you're here for are the people movers. So let's start with the news of these, the brand new Frankfurt SkyLine people mover. Hey Jack, one's left-hand running. Do you know where else they left-hand run?
Up your butt.
People movers are what we in German like to call gadget bonds. A lot of them are rubber tired or monorails or use systems like VAL or NeoVAL like you'll see in Paris. Also very unique for Germany is that left-hand runs, which is something you typically see in nations that are UK and its former colonies.
Wait, the US?
The US does not left-hand run, thank fuck. Don't they have enough problems? For a people mover, the acceleration is crazy. Like, I was having to balance myself so hard just to not fall over while standing.
I imagine my footage from this thing is not going to be very good because its stabilization isn't great.
Nah, it's all good. I found these trains to have some really intense acceleration, especially just between the 3 stations here. However, with that acceleration comes some really just wild elevation and, I guess, diva elevation. Basically, the train goes up some pretty steep ramps. It's really impressive. Definitely makes you want to hold on. Yeah. It was a little bumpy at points. I don't feel like the rubber tires here are doing it any favors. Jack, would you like to chime in?
Just like most airport people mover systems, it did have rubber tires, which I think made it enough of a not train that the project didn't get delayed, because clearly every single rail project in Germany gets delayed.
So here's some great connectivity. This is the new system, and just over there is the old system. It's that easy, and yeah, I'm really quite impressed. Let's compare that to the older system, also called the SkyLine, just serving terminals 1 and 2. Really bizarrely here is that there's actually an intermediate station here, and that it always stops at, but they tell you no one enter or exit the train here, so just weird. I will say I feel like new SkyLine is a bit faster, especially with acceleration this one. This one has a much smoother ride. It's also supposed to have 2 stations at Terminal 1, but on the day we were here, only 1 was served, and they made everyone get off very rushedly at the first one. I found this one to be a bit more comfortable, if not as fast or sleek. And yeah, it was also really weird being on a piece of mass airport transit with just carpet everywhere. Kind of felt like being in someone's 80s living room in train form. I like the old SkyLine though. I find it pretty charming. So we just got off the old SkyLine, so now let's go to our secret third people mover.
Kicked off,
we were kicked off.
Along with everyone, that's not because we were being filmers.
Yeah, they were actually really cool with us being filmers. But no, there's a secret third one that's not on the map. Technically, the Frankfurt Airport people mover system is 2 lines, but there is a third line. But it's very weird and it's kind of hard to find. So let's see if we can find it and take it for a ride.
I'm just still wondering why this one isn't going to AZ.
Construction?
It doesn't stop at C. This is terminal or concourse B.
Yeah.
Area B. I think they call it area.
Yeah.
And it's not stopping at the station for A and Z.
The final of these people movers is such a bizarre one. For this, we had to go into a mall attached to part of Frankfurt Airport called the Square Dash. Well, we've exited the airport and entered basically a fancy mall. Here's a diagram of the whole complex. This is sometimes called the Square Metro, but it's sometimes also called People Mover Line 3, informally. To get to this, you have to actually leave the main airport, go into the attached main train station, which, fun fact, if you're flying Lufthansa, you can actually get combination train and plane tickets. But no, you have to pretty much go around and you find this tiny little pod metro thing, just connecting the square to a parking garage. I feel like it takes more time to get started on it than it does to actually ride it. It feels over-engineered. Like, it feels like being an airport, you know, maybe they just need like a hallway of some travelators. This is peak Gadget-Bahn. How this metro, sometimes called the mini metro, works is basically there's a pod on each side that it says can hold 50 people, but it was feeling kind of cramped even with just 3. And then the wires running underneath the tracks haul them across with each pod going at the same time with a passing loop in the middle. It takes roughly a minute to get from side to side. Kind of reminds me of a funicular, except instead of gravity doing the work, it's pretty flat. What do you even call this besides just weird? This is like the train equivalent of a clown car. But you know, that's it for my trip to Frankfurt Airport for this. No sponsorship or anything this video. Just good old-fashioned exploring with my friends Jack and Frank. I'm really happy we got to go, and I had a lot of fun. So, I'm not sure what note to put here before I get into the viewer questions. So, here's fan art of Garfield and Sonic together. My final thoughts for the day. I think the new terminal is really cool, and the people mover system is fascinating. The one at the square is such a weird ass Gadget-Bahn, but I think the actual SkyLine system is really good for what it is. Frank has actually given me a question to ask you folks as well in addition. Would you call this a Stand-Seilbahn? Like the Seilbahn Cologne, except instead of hanging down the wires like underneath because it's not a funicular. You're not scaling a... So what would you call this besides, you know, a gadget Bahn? Now to end off, I want to answer a viewer question that I'm sure many of you are asking. It's, is this all up to code? And the answer is yes, yes it is. Even the door handle here passed its 2017 inspection. Thank you for that.